My name is Emma, and I'm 27 years old. The night before my wedding, I sat on the edge of my bed, carefully painting my toenails a soft blush pink. My heart was full of excitement because I believed that in just a few hours, my life would change forever in the best possible way. My fiancés, Ryan and I had spent 4 wonderful years together. 4 years filled with lazy Sunday breakfasts, road trips, late-night conversations, and quiet moments that made life feel complete. He held my hand through the hardest day of my life, my father's funeral, and never once let me face my grief alone. We had built a relationship based on trust, patience, and love. Tomorrow was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Instead, it became the day I finally saw my mother for who she truly was. Her name is Linda. Remember that name. At exactly 10:47 that night, my phone started ringing nonstop. First, it was my cousin Sarah. And my aunt Helen. Then 3 more calls from relatives I barely ever spoke to. Confused, I answered Sarah's call. She sounded panicked. "Emma, I don't even know how to tell you this." My stomach tightened. "What's wrong?" "Your mom just called me. She begged me not to come to your wedding." I actually laughed. I thought she was joking, but Sarah wasn't laughing. "She told everyone you had some kind of mental breakdown," she whispered. "She said the wedding was falling apart and that the whole family had already decided not to come. She told me I'd look foolish if I showed up alone." Everything around me went silent. The nail polish brush froze in my hand. I couldn't breathe. Then the calls kept coming, one after another. Relatives repeated almost the exact same story. By midnight, I realized the horrifying truth. Linda had personally called every single one of our 94 wedding guests, some of them more than once. To my father's relatives, she claimed I had become emotionally unstable. To my mother's side of the family, she spread lies that Ryan was hiding dangerous secrets. The stories changed depending on who she spoke to, but the message never changed. "Don't come to the wedding." And every conversation ended with the same carefully rehearsed sentence. The whole family already agreed not to attend. "Don't be the only one there." It wasn't concern. It wasn't love. It was psychological manipulation, disguised as motherly advice. At 11:15 p.m., I called Ryan. Oddly enough, I wasn't crying. Not yet. I had reached that strange, frozen place where everything feels painfully clear before the tears finally arrive. I told him everything. There was a long silence. Finally, he spoke. "Emma, I need you to trust me." His voice was calm. "Get some sleep. Tomorrow, no matter what happens, I'll be standing at that altar. And I promise I already have everything under control." I had no idea what he meant, but something in his voice made me believe him. The next morning, I got dressed almost completely alone. My maid of honor, Olivia, my best friend since college, was the only person who came to help. She walked in carrying coffee, a bouquet of white roses, and the determined expression of someone ready to fight the world for me. Without making a dramatic speech, she quietly zipped up my wedding dress. She looked at me in the mirror and smiled. "You are the most beautiful person in this room," she said softly, "and today belongs to you." Those words became the only thing keeping me together. We arrived at the church around 11:30. The parking lot was almost empty. Inside, every chair had been perfectly arranged for 94 guests before the ceremony began. I peeked through the side door. I counted 1, 2, 3, only 9 people had shown up. 9. My heart shattered. My father was gone. Now it felt like the rest of my family had abandoned me too. When the music began, I walked down the aisle completely alone. Every click of my heels echoed through the nearly empty church. Every vacant seat felt like another reminder of what my own Mother had done. The pastor stood nervously at the front. Ryan waited beside him. When our eyes met. He didn't look sorry for me. He didn't look embarrassed. He looked at me the same way he always had, like I was the only person who mattered. That look gave me just enough strength to keep walking. Then everything changed. The church doors suddenly burst open. Not one person. Not 10. Hundreds. Nearly 180 people streamed into the church wearing matching navy blue jackets. They entered quietly, almost like they had rehearsed it. Within moments, every empty pew was filled. The pastor stopped speaking. Olivia gasped beside me. I froze in the middle of the aisle. I didn't recognize a single face. Then the microphone crackled with feedback. A giant screen behind the altar, the one that was supposed to display our wedding vows, suddenly lit up. A text message appeared. It was addressed to my mother. Turn around. Your daughter's groom isn't who you think he is. He's been saving every receipt. I slowly turned toward the third row. There sat Linda. Despite everything she had done to destroy my wedding, she had still shown up. Maybe she wanted to watch my humiliation with her own eyes, but the moment she read those words on the screen, the color drained from her face. And for the very first time, she looked genuinely afraid. Ryan calmly reached for my hand. Ryan reached out and held his hand toward me, took the last few steps down the aisle, slipped my hand into his, and he gave it one gentle squeeze. It wasn't just reassurance. It felt like a promise. By now, the church had transformed completely. Just minutes earlier, it had echoed with empty silence. Now every seat was filled. Nearly 200 strangers wearing matching navy blue jackets sat quietly, watching everything unfold without saying a word. The pastor had finally regained his composure, although his hands still trembled slightly as he held his notes. Glanced toward the third row. Linda hadn't moved. She sat perfectly still, clutching her phone so tightly her knuckles had turned white. I leaned toward Ryan and whispered, "Who are these people?" A faint smile crossed his face. "Witnesses," he replied softly. "Every truth deserves witnesses." A chill ran through me. In that moment, I realized something. Ryan hadn't prepared for this overnight. He had been quietly getting ready for this day for months. Without another word, he bent down beside the altar and lifted a thick cream-colored folder secured with a large binder clip. It was neatly organized, almost like a legal case file. He first handed it to the pastor. "Please hold on to this for a moment," he said politely. The pastor nodded without opening it. Ryan then turned to face everyone in the church, the 9 loyal guests who never abandoned us, the hundreds of strangers in navy jackets, and finally, Linda. His voice remained calm. There was no anger. No shouting. No desire to embarrass anyone. Only the quiet confidence of someone who knew the facts were enough. "Before Emma and I began this new chapter together," he said, "there are a few truths everyone in this room deserves to hear." Linda shot to her feet. "This is completely inappropriate," she snapped. "This is my daughter's wedding. You have no right to turn it into this." Before anyone else could react, one of the people wearing the navy jacket slowly stood up from the back row. He didn't say a single word. He simply stood, for reasons I didn't understand at the time. Linda immediately stopped talking and slowly sat back down. Only later would I discover why. Ryan unclipped the folder and opened it. The first piece of evidence, he began, is a series of text messages. He held up printed screenshots. 18 months earlier, Linda had secretly contacted my future mother-in-law. She had never even met her. While visiting our house, She had quietly taken my phone while I was showering, searched through my contacts, and copied her number. Then she sent message after message claiming I was emotionally unstable, that I constantly created unnecessary drama, and that marrying me would ruin Ryan's future. Ryan's mother never replied. Instead, she saved every single message. Ryan calmly placed the printed copies on a nearby table where everyone could see them. Then he lifted another document. The second record is a voicemail transcript. Linda had called Ryan's workplace pretending to be a worried family member. She warned his employer that Ryan supposedly had serious anger problems and could become violent. The accusation was completely false. In 4 years together, Ryan had never once yelled at me. Not once. Fortunately, his company's human resources department documented the entire call and preserved the recording because it was considered suspicious. Ryan quietly laid that document beside the first. Then came another, the third record. It was a chain of emails. 3 weeks before our wedding, Linda had secretly contacted our wedding venue, pretending to be me. She claimed the ceremony had been canceled and requested that our deposit be refunded. Thankfully, the venue coordinator sensed something wasn't right. Instead of processing the refund, she called Ryan directly to verify the request. Those emails had all been printed with the dates and timestamps clearly visible. As Ryan continued turning page after page, the atmosphere inside the church completely changed. By the fourth document, Linda stopped, interrupting. By the eighth, she couldn't even look up anymore. Her eyes stayed fixed on the floor. By the 15th, someone sitting beside her quietly handed her glass of water. Her hands shook as she accepted it, but she never took a single sip. Ryan looked down at the thick folder before slowly saying the words that left the entire church speechless. There aren't 15 pieces of evidence. He paused. There are 156, and every single one tells the same story. There were 156 pieces of evidence in that folder. Ryan didn't read every single one. He didn't have to. Instead, he calmly explained what they proved. There were phone records showing that Linda had spent more than 2 years calling relatives behind our backs, spreading lies about my mental health. There was a forged letter sent to one of my former employers accusing me of stealing from the company. Thankfully, a coworker recognized Linda's email address from an earlier exchange and alerted management before any damage was done. There were records showing she had tried to contact my therapist, pretending to be a concerned family member in hopes of getting private information about me. There were screenshots of a fake social media account she had created just to send disturbing messages to Ryan's sister, trying to convince her that I was manipulative and dangerous. Page after page revealed the same heartbreaking pattern. Every lie. Every fake story. Every attempt to isolate me. Every effort to destroy the life Ryan and I had built together. 156 carefully documented acts of manipulation. Then Ryan revealed the truth about the hundreds of people sitting quietly around us. They're not family, he said. They're people who understand exactly what this feels like. 8 months earlier, without telling me, Ryan had joined a private online support community for people dealing with toxic relatives and coordinated family sabotage. At first, he only read other people's stories. Eventually, he anonymously shared ours. When the members learned that Linda had called all 94 of our wedding guests the night before the ceremony and convinced almost everyone not to come, something incredible happened. Complete strangers organized overnight Some drove 6 hours, others drove through the night. A few crossed 4 different states just to be there. They even bought matching Navy jackets, so the venue staff would recognize them as one organized group and allow them inside without confusion. They weren't there because they knew us. They were there because they knew the pain. They refused to let a bride walk into an empty church on the most important day of her life. At that moment, I completely lost my breath. I looked around the room. So many unfamiliar faces, yet somehow I never felt less alone. Olivia was crying openly in the front row. The pastor held the evidence folder against his chest as though it were something sacred. Linda never looked up. She simply stared at the floor. Surrounded by the consequences of years of deception, Ryan turned toward me and gently took both of my hands. "I never told you about any of this," he whispered, "because I didn't want you carrying this burden with me. I wanted your wedding day to belong to you. I just needed to make sure nobody could take it away." Those words broke whatever strength I had left. Moments later, we were married, not in an empty church, but in a church overflowing with people who had chosen kindness over indifference before the pastor could even announce us husband and wife. The entire room rose to its feet. The applause echoed through the church. It wasn't just for our marriage. It was for surviving everything that tried to destroy it. Our vows were simple because we had written them ourselves. I cried through nearly every sentence. Ryan smiled through most of his, even while fighting back tears. Olivia was crying so hard that a woman in one of the Navy jackets, someone she'd never met before that morning, quietly handed her 3 tissues. Sometimes compassion really does come from complete strangers. Linda slipped out before the reception began. She didn't apologize. She didn't speak to me. She simply left, but it no longer mattered. One of Ryan's evidence packets had already been forwarded to the family's attorney. There would be difficult conversations. There would be consequences. Just not today. That day belonged to us. My name is Emma, 27 years old. I walked down the aisle believing I was completely alone. Instead, I reached the altar with nearly 200 people standing behind me and the only man I have ever fully trusted waiting in front of me. My mother tried to destroy my wedding with lies, manipulation, and years of carefully planned sabotage. My husband answered her with the truth. 156 pieces of evidence. 200 strangers, and a love that refused to be broken. If you're listening to my story and someone in your life is doing what Linda did to me, remember this. Save every text message, keep every email, record every voicemail, write down every date. Documentation matters. The truth doesn't need to shout. It waits patiently. And when the right moment finally comes, no amount of manipulation can bury it again.